Hi friends, welcome back to HoneyBea. In today's video, we have a special treat for you. It is the sew along for the Sewfisticated clutch. Now this sew along will be in 4 parts, and today is part 1, where we will be gathering our supplies, cutting out our pattern and our fabric, and prepping everything for part 2, where we start sewing. Now we have some wonderful sponsors who have so generously provided us with the prizes. Here is the Miss Chic. It is a large wallet size clutch, and it is made with today's sponsor, which is MyPunkBroidery. You can see this here, it's diamond dust fabric. Yes, it is fabric. Surprisingly, it was very easy to sew too. So for all of you out there with domestic machines, this one will work out good. So if you have never been over to the website MyPunkBroidery, it's going to be a treat for you to go over there and see all the stuff that they have available. For this sew along, I will be doing the Miss Classy, which is the larger of the clutch patterns. Let me show you the vinyl that I chose for our sew along. So now this vinyl is H2O Reptilian Eggplant. So now, are you ready to see it? Now I will be using this for the exterior of the clutch. And I will show you how you can make one also using a 12-inch wide roll. Because the pattern pieces, we will have to cut them out a certain way. So now, those are all the details to the Sewfisticated clutch for our sew along for this month of April. Now don't forget to take a picture each week of your progress and post it over at Sewfisticated Crafts Designs Facebook group. Now I have a lot of new subscribers, so I wanted to just take a tiny bit of time to introduce myself to you. My name is Beatrice, but all my friends call me Bea, and I hope you will too. Now if you would like to introduce yourself to us too, you can do so in the comments below. Now I know you're not all in the United States, so go ahead and let us know which country you are in. Now, if you have any questions about part 1 of our sew along, you can leave them in the comments below. Now, I will be one of the moderators as this premieres live, and I will be able to answer your questions. Now, let's get all of our supplies, go over to the table behind me, and let's get started. Let's get started with page 1, which is our cut list. Now, this one that we will be doing for the sew along is the Miss Classy. If you are doing the Miss Chic, you want to make sure that you have the cut list for that one. Now, here we have our exterior pattern pieces, our interior pattern pieces, and then the others that we will be cutting out as well. Here we have our identifying pattern pieces. And then we have the width and height of each pattern piece. Now here between B1 and G, you will notice there is no pattern piece for these items. But you will be able to find the size that you will cut out under this column here. Now notice it goes from J to H, and there is no I. And she makes note of that down here. Now notice that there are 2 M pieces. You will only need 1 of these, but you will be cutting out 2. The reason why there are 2 is because you have to determine which of the D-ring sizes that you will use. If you will use a 1/2 inch D-ring, you are going to cut out this one. If you're using a 3/4 inch D-ring, then you will cut out this one. Now, if you are using grommets, you will cut out neither. Now, page 4 is very important. It is our pattern pieces at a glance. This is important because if you are using a directional fabric, you can see which direction her pattern is going in each of these pattern pieces. You can also see which pieces that she used and which fabric she used. Because many of our pieces are squares and rectangles, she has given us cutting labels for each piece. Now I'm going to start from the upper left corner and then work my way down. So as I cut each of these pieces out, I will cut it away from this sheet and then clip it to the fabric. So when I go to sew this, then each piece will have its own identifying mark. Now the first thing we're going to cut out is our exterior flap. I'm using this vinyl here that I received from MyPunkBroidery, and it isn't your traditional directional fabric, although it is a directional fabric. Let me explain. You see this here? This here, I want it to be running down the center of my clutch. Now, let me show you on our sample piece, which I actually got this vinyl here from MyPunkBroidery also. You will notice that the directional fabric goes up and down with the curve towards me. But when I open it up, the directional fabric will have changed with the curve away from me. So we have to cut out each piece going its own direction. So let me set that aside. That is why when you're cutting out the exterior flap, this side is going to be right side up. But when you go to cut the inner flap, you will flip it around and cut with this side right side up. Now, we are cutting our exterior flap first. I can see here that there is definitely a center line that goes through these scales right here. I want to find the center in my paper, then I want to line it up and determine for myself where I want this to be. Now I'm wanting to focus in on this piece here at the bottom of my flap. So I'm going to place this here just like that, and now I know that if I put my center of my line right here, I know that I am going down the center and I will be able to encompass this here in my flap. So now what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to put a couple of pieces of tape. And now you want to make sure that you're using the right kind of tape. I've tested out this tape already, so I know it's not going to leave a real bad residue. But I just want to hold it there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow my outline for this pattern piece all the way around. As I've cut off this piece, I no longer have that Scotch tape holding it down for me, so I'm going to go and clip it. Okay, so now I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to get our piece here. Let me get my paper scissors, and I'm going to cut out this here for our exterior flap. Let me put that back aside. This now is my exterior flap, and so now this piece is ready. So now I've done my exterior flap. I want to put a check next to that exterior flap because I've already cut it out. Okay, so now I'm ready to cut out my inner flap. So I want to make sure that this side is going right side up, and the piece that I am going to cut out is also going right side up. Okay, Now I'm going to rough cut this because I'm actually going to interface this first with SF101. It is a woven interfacing. It has glue on the back side. Okay, so now I just want to fuse this interfacing. Not all the way at the corners, but I just kind of fuse it that way. And now I want to make sure that my fabric is right side up. I want to make sure that my inner piece is right side up. And I can kind of still see where that fold was. Now I want to really pin this down. Okay, so now I'm ready to cut out my pattern piece. Now I want to remove my pins and then do a final pressing, making sure all of my edges are sealed down. Okay, so now I want to grab the piece that goes with my inner flap. And my paper scissors. Okay. So now when we go to sew our clutch together, you can see that this is the exterior, and then when I open it up, that my flower is right side up. That is going to be really very pretty. Now let's talk about the next piece. This is our heavy stabilizer. I'm using Decavale Heavy. It is a thicker and more sturdier interfacing than what we backed our fabric with. What this is this is a piece that will go in between our flap and it'll make it stiff or hard. Okay, so I've already cut that piece out, and that piece is A3. So I want to take my label for A3 and I want to add it to there. So our flap is completely done. So now let's go back to page 1, which is our cut list. We have done our exterior flap and we have cut out one. Let me move this out of the way. Okay, we've cut one of our exterior flap. We've cut one of our interior flap. We've cut one of our heavy stabilizer. Now, the next thing that we need to cut is either B1 or B2. You will notice here, B1 is if your fabric is not directional. Piece B2 is for directional prints only. Now, our fabric or our vinyl is in fact a directional fabric. So we will be cutting out piece B2 and we will not need B1. Now, we will be cutting out 2 of those. So you want to take this dimension off of your pattern piece and cut out 2 of those. Now, if you are also using a vinyl roll that is 12 inches or less, you want to also use B2. So now, in order to cut my next piece, I first of all want to find the centers to my pattern again. And now, when I sew these together, they will be right sides together, and they will be like this. So I want to make sure that my vinyl is going the right way, that it is going to continue. So I want to put these right sides together, matching up that center marking, and clip it. Okay, then I want to cut this piece out again. Okay, now that is my exterior, and I've marked each piece going up in my up direction so that one piece doesn't get turned around from itself. Okay, now another thing I wanted to add was, you can see that I added like a 1/4 of an inch to the top. The reason is because once we sew this seam at the bottom, we are going to open up that seam, top stitch it, and then we are going to cut this down to the exact size that we want it. Okay, so now let's set those pieces aside, and let's set our scrap pieces aside. Now remember, don't get rid of these. Don't get rid of any of your scraps. All of these pieces can be used for other things, especially for the card holder pouch. So don't throw away any of your scraps. So now make sure that you put the right tag on. If you're using B1, it's going to be one piece, but we're using B2, so we will not need this piece. So I'm going to toss that and mark our thing with B2. Okay, so now I'm going to put it in my stack. So now let's look at our pattern cut list again. B3 and B4, our measurements are right here, and you will cut out one of each piece. You will cut out the heavy stabilizer, which is the Decaville or your Peltex, and then this is optional for you to cut out a Mylar stencil sheet. I will cut those out and then come back and show you. Okay, so here is our B3, which is our heavy stabilizer or Decaville, and I have marked the direction that this is supposed to go in. And so now I will set this aside. Now the next thing to cut out is our Mylar sheet. This is optional. I'm going to wait until I put it all together and then see if I need extra stabilizer for that or not. Now let's take a look at our pattern pieces at a glance. Now the next thing we have to cut out is piece C, which is our outer pocket lining, and we need 2 of those. I'm going to be cutting them out of waterproof canvas, and it is going to be, for that pocket only, it is going to be out of white waterproof canvas, because I'm going to do some embroidery on it. I don't have a bag tag, so I'm going to embroider a little message with my name inside of it, showing that I was the one who made it. So I'm going to cut out 2 of those, and so I'm going to get my dimensions from this column right here. Okay, so now I've cut out 2 of those, and I've put my tag on it. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside. Now the next thing we will need to cut out is D, which is our main lining. So now let me get our sample again, and close this up, and show you what piece that is. It is this piece right here. Okay, so when we are opening up both of our slip pockets, we will be able to see that. So whatever color of fabric or anything that you want on this side and this side over here, that is what you're cutting out. Now I want to bring your attention to something. Okay, this fabric is going to be seen on the outside just a tad bit. See how you can see that fabric there and there? So you want to be aware of that. So for this fabric, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a purple waterproof canvas that will be able to blend in with my vinyl on the outside. Okay, and again, that is our main lining, which is D, and you will find those measurements in this column here. And you are going to cut out one of them. Okay, so let me cut out that, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so this one is piece D, so I want to cut off my tag for that. And clip that in place and set that aside. Now our next piece that we need to cut out is our card slot panel lining, and that is piece E. So let me get my sample here and let me show you what that piece is. It is the back side right here of our slip pockets. Okay, so you want to make sure that you cut it out of the same fabric as you did the last piece, which was D, so that when you look into that pocket, both sides are the same fabric. Okay, so that is piece E. So you will find the dimensions to that piece right here, and we need one piece. So I will go ahead and cut that out, and I will be right back. Okay, so now we have piece E cut out, and so now we'll get our label for that and clip it to here. Okay, so there is our piece E. So now the next thing we have to cut out is F, which is our card slot pockets. So now let me show you what that is on our sample here, and it is this piece right here. So we have our card slots in there. Okay, now if you are using a domestic machine and using cotton fabric, you do not necessarily have to interface this piece with SF101 or any lightweight interfacing. I didn't interface these, and it did just fine. So you'll want to take note of that, especially if you are using a domestic machine. Okay, so now I've went ahead and I cut out F, which is my card slot pockets. I cut it a little bit longer than I needed, because once I fold it up for all of the card slots, then I will be able to cut it down to the exact size that I need it. So that is my piece F. So let me get my tag for that, and now I'll pin it to this one and put that aside. Now the next piece we're going to cut out is piece G, which is our zipper and slip pocket. Now let me get our sample again, and let me show you what that is. It is this piece here. See how there is a slip pocket, and then this panel here has a zipper pocket? You may want to cut this piece out of the same material as you did the card slots, as I did here. But for the Miss Classy, there is a second option. Now stay with me on this. We are going to go through it step by step. On page 8, you may see this picture and wonder why are there two pieces that are exactly the same. One of them is a fussy cut. Now if you want to cut out this as one piece, that's fine. All you will do is go to this column here and cut out your piece here. But if you want to use the fussy cut method, you will notice there is a second set of instructions that come with the pattern. I am going to go ahead and I am going to use this section here so that for those of you who want to do this fussy cut, you can follow along with me. Now again, if you're not going to do the fussy cut on the slip pocket, just go ahead and take this measurement here and cut out one of those, and then add your label to it. Now again, this is only if you are making the Miss Classy and you are doing a fussy cut on your slip pocket. Okay, so here, which is G in the center, your dimensions you're going to cut out of the waterproof canvas, and this is where a zipper is going to go in this portion. Piece G1, which is our fussy cut, is the cotton fabric I have here. I've also backed it with SF101 and kept that interfacing out of my seam. Okay, so this again is only for the Miss Classy fussy cut for the slip pocket. Now if you are making the Miss Chic or just choosing not to do the fussy cut on the slip pocket, you will just cut out a piece and it's going to look like this as of one total piece. okay? Because this is actually what this is going to do is this is going to turn into our slip pocket here, and our zipper pocket will be up here. Okay, so the choice is yours. And I really like that she gives us this option for these fussy cuts, because it gives us another way to make this our own. Okay, so that is, even though it's two pieces, it is one piece, and that is our piece G, which is our slip pocket and our zipper pocket. So I'm going to get my label for that, put it on the side here, and then clip it. Let me get another clip. Okay. Okay, and you can see here too that I cut this just a little bit bigger because of the interfacing. Okay, I always cut my pieces bigger and then cut them down, especially if I'm using interfacing with it. Okay, so that's why that piece is a little bit wider. Okay, so that is our piece G. We are going to set that aside. Now our next item to cut out is H, which is our inner pocket lining. So now let me show you what that piece is. That is our zipper pocket lining right in here. So now whatever fabric you want inside of your zipper pocket, that is the piece we are cutting now. I chose to use the waterproof canvas to match my slip pockets back here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that piece out of purple waterproof canvas fabric. And again, you will find the dimensions for that right here, and I'm cutting one of them out. So I'll be right back. Okay, so now I have my piece H, and I've cut out one of those, and it is right here, so I'm ready to put my label on with that. And clip it. Set that aside. Please remember, if you are using cotton, you need to also cut out interfacing for these pieces so that it's more stable. I'm using waterproof canvas, so this is already a very stable fabric, so I do not need to interface it. Okay, but if you are cutting these pieces out of cotton, you do need to interface it. You will interface the cotton first by applying the interfacing to the fabric and then cut it out. Now the next piece to cut out is piece J, which is our side panels, and we are going to cut out two of those. So now let me show you where they are. They are right here on the side. I'm going to actually be cutting it out of the purple waterproof canvas, and I need two of those, and I will be right back. Now I have my two side panels cut out, which are J. You will notice that she does in fact have a pattern piece to cut these out, but I did not use it. Let me explain why. I actually cut the side panels a little bit bigger, 1/2 inch taller, 1/2 inch wider. There is a reason why I did that. This is where our zipper pocket and our slip pocket will go. This is where our card slots go. When I sew these side panels to that center panel, I will then take it and I'm going to cut it down to the exact size that I need. So that is the reason why I cut it just a little bit bigger. Now, if you want to use this pattern piece, that's fine. You can just lay it on your fabric and then cut it out. Or use the measurements here and use a roller cutter with a ruler. Let me put these together, get my identifying label, and clip that. Okay, so now that piece is all done. Let's set it aside. Now the next piece we are going to cut out is our side gussets, and we need 4 of those. Okay, here's the pattern piece for that. Now let me show you on our sample here where those side gussets are. They are right here. Okay, in using this diamond dust fabric, my machine went through it just fine. But it is a fabric. If you are using vinyl, you want to be very careful here because this gets really thick for you to sew through, because there is top stitching that we do right here. So you want to make sure that your machine is going to be able to sew through the vinyl on the outside, your panel, and your gusset. So that's a lot to sew through. You have an option. You can definitely make that piece out of waterproof canvas, but I do not want to. I want to put it in vinyl so that when this bag is opened up or extended, it still looks like a continuous piece. I'm going to show you, for those of you who may want to do that, how you can eliminate so much bulk in this gusset. This gusset is going to be sewn in half like this. And you have 4 of them. This edge here will be in your side seam. Now bear with me because I'm going to share a lot of details here. Now what I'm going to do is I want vinyl on this outside, but on the inside I want waterproof canvas. What that's going to do is that's going to make this piece here a lot thinner, so that when I go to top stitch my inner panels and my exterior panels together with my gussets, it will eliminate some of the bulk. So here is our side gusset piece. What I want to do is I want to cut this out, half of it in vinyl, half of it in waterproof canvas. Bear with me. It's not as difficult as it seems. You can go ahead, if you are using an industrial machine or cotton or anything like that, to where you feel that your machine will be able to go ahead and top stitch that, use this piece. Just go ahead and cut it out of vinyl or whichever fabric you're using, and you are going to cut out 4 of them. If you want the outside in vinyl, which I do, and I want to eliminate the inside vinyl piece, I want to replace it with waterproof canvas. So what I've done is I've taken this pattern piece and folded it in half. Then I took another piece of paper and traced it on there like that. And on this fold area, I added 1/4 inch seam allowance. Then, let me put that aside, I took this pattern piece and I cut out 4 vinyl and 4 of waterproof canvas. And they have to be mirrored with each other. So let me show you those pieces here. Okay, so now you can see I have 4 gusset pieces. Okay, I have 2 waterproof canvases on the outside of each piece and the vinyl in the center. All I have done is I have cut out 4 vinyls mirrored and 4 waterproof canvases also mirrored. What that means is you cut out 1 going this way, flip it over, and cut 1 going out that way. And do the same thing to this side. Cut 1 going this way, flip it over, and then cut 1 going this way. So what I did was I took my 4 vinyls and my 4 waterproof canvases, put them right sides together, sewed them using the 1/4 inch seam allowance that we added to right here. What that did was it made this piece the same size, except now it just has a seam down the middle. I also top stitched so that the vinyl was going towards the waterproof canvas, so it reduces the bulk. So now when we go ahead and make these gussets and put this together like that, and sew the top and the bottom, turn it right sides out, the outside of our gusset will be in vinyl. The inside of our gusset will be waterproof canvas. But overall, what it did was it reduced the bulk that will be in that seam. Now, I really do encourage you, if you are a beginner in bag making, that you go ahead and you cut out 4 gussets just like this out of the waterproof canvas. But if you want to take it a little step further and try something new, you might want to try this one here. Okay, so I'm going to clip those together and set them aside. So now we are almost done. Now we have our zipper tab and our D-ring. Now here is the D-ring, here is the D-ring, and then we have our zipper tab. Now the zipper tab, I want to cut 2 of them out of this fabric. Now let me show you where this zipper tab is. This zipper tab is right here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. Now remember, you can't put any pins in any of these pieces of the vinyl. Okay, so there you go. And there's my two pieces. Here's a clip. There's my two pieces for my zipper tab. Now for the D-ring, the pattern piece you will use will be determined by the D-ring that you use. So if you are going to use a 1/2 inch D-ring, you are going to cut out 2 of these. If you are going to use a 3/4 inch D-ring, you are going to cut out 2 of this piece. Now, if you are going to use grommets, like I did here, you will not need D-rings at all. So I am going to actually use the grommets, so I am not going to be cutting out the D-rings. Now I want to talk a little bit about the hardware for our straps. Now if you're going to sew your own strap, you are going to need 2 swivel clasps, 2 D-rings, and a slider. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this chain strap here. It is the same thing as a lobster clasp that opens right here. And it's got a little heart on it, so I liked that. Because I'm using this, I'm going to need grommets. These grommets are, in fact, 10mm grommets. Now, when I received these, I thought, those are extremely small. How is that going to work? But let me show you. In fact, it does work because I have one already in here. So it worked out just fine with this strap here. But if you are going to use a swivel clasp with this, it will not work. You will need to get a larger grommet, just like I did over here on this. You see how I had to use a larger grommet? Now because I'm using the chain strap with the hearts, I'm going to also use the zipper pulls with the hearts too. Now let me move those aside. I also have rainbow rivets. I have a bag tag that says, I know, I can't believe I'm handmade either. So I will be adding that. Then I will also be using a magnetic snap. Now if you have a turn lock and you want to add that on there, that is really easy. You can do that too. But for this sew along, I will be adding a magnetic snap. Okay, so now since I'm using rainbow hardware, I wanted to also use rainbow zippers. Now you have a choice of which size of zipper you will use for the inside zipper pocket. You can either use a number 3 zipper or a number 5. I'm going to go ahead and use the number 5. Okay, so I won't need this one. Now for the inside pocket and also the outside pocket, I will be using a number 5 zipper. That's what I used on this one here. So you can see that that is a number 5 zipper. And then inside, that is also a number 5 zipper. Now, in order to enter into this week's drawing, you will take a picture of your project so far. Now, Jassy will be opening up a post in Sewfisticated Crafts Designs, and that post is where you will add your picture. Now, on Friday, the 8th of April, either I or Jassy will spin a wheel with all of your entries in there, and we will pick a winner. And then on Saturday the 9th, we will start sewing our project together. Now that will be for week 2. Now please, if you have any comments or anything like that, and it's after this is no longer live, please add it in the comments below. That way Jassy and I can look at it and we can answer any comments or any questions that you may have. If you post any questions over at the Facebook group, it may get lost. And I want to make sure that all of you guys have all of the questions answered and everything that you need so that as many people as can join us in week 2 can do so. Now, thank you so much again for supporting me on this sew along with Sewfisticated Crafts Designs. And thank you to our sponsors, MyPunkBroidery, Whimsical Fabric Designs, and Seweird Fabrics. We couldn't have done this without you. Thank you everyone for joining me today also. I'll see you over at the Facebook group. Bye.